Hi, everybody. This is more the management of reality. Iran has run out of water, people. There is no more water in Iran. This is a crisis of historic proportions. How did it happen? What's going to happen? That's what we're going to talk about today. Again, this is more the management of reality. How are you, Joel? Ready for this?
I'm ready for this. This is gonna be a good one.
This is going to be a good one, or well, maybe it's
Well,
going to be a bad one because the
it
news is so
depends. Yeah.
The news is unbelievably bad. Let me share the screen here. It's incredible that this is not the daily news all the time because there has not been a crisis like this one ever.
Hmm.
So it's amazing that the mainstream media is not talking about this the entire time. Let me show you. This is the well. Let me show you first. If you guys wanna go read about this, go to the Management of Reality. Right. Go to our website, our Substack, or you can go to our main hub, right? Managementofreality.com, or on the English page. You can change that here. You click on articles, and that takes you to our Substack page. Okay, I don't want to be there right now because we are transmitting, and the article that we just published that you will see there is this one: Apocalypse Now. Iran is out of water. Will millions of water refugees go to Europe? And what you will get there is a careful explication with footnotes so that you can go learn about this whole thing in greater detail. Okay. But this is what we're going to talk about now. Okay. So, what are we looking at? We're looking at here at Lake Urmia, or to be more precise, what used to be Lake Urmia. Okay. Because it no longer exists. So, this is the lake bed, and it dried completely. Why did it dry completely? And I should add, Lake Urmia is the biggest or was the biggest saltwater lake in the entire Middle East, and one of the biggest in the world. Okay. It no longer exists because dams were built and uh, rivers were diverted, and not enough water was coming in, and it's gone. It's gone. An entire lake,
Hmm.
and one of the biggest. Okay, so this is a symbol. This is the best symbol, or the best metonym, if you want, for the crisis in Iran. Okay, because what happened here is happening all over the country. This this looks very extreme, but in fact, everything happening all over the country is very extreme. This is a map made by the what do they call this? The World Resources Institute. Okay, and it's showing you the degree of water stress around the world. So as you go from yellow to red to brown, what that is telling you is that you are going to increasing levels of water stress. Now, as you can see in this map, Iran is among the most water stressed countries in the world. But if you consider the variable of the probability that water stress will lead to political collapse, then Iran is the most water stressed country in the entire world, because they've been having all kinds of protests for years now because people don't have enough water. They need water to drink, they need water to farm, they need water for basic services in the cities, and they're not getting this water. And for years now, there have been giant protests in Iran where people are simply demanding to get water. And these protests have been met with violence. So there is a real and present danger that this water crisis will produce so much political instability that it'll produce political collapse. Okay. So, in that sense, in the political sense, Iran is the most water stressed country in the entire world. Now, here is a photograph of one of these water protests. um, people protesting that they don't have water with which to farm, okay, because the rivers that used to be employed by these farmers are now dry because the water has been diverted elsewhere. Once that happens, once farmers and people in the cities um, are left without water, with the water they were normally getting, from rivers, from the waters, from the city's water system, and so on and so forth. What do people do? Well, they start digging wells. They start plugging into the underground water resources of Iran, the aquifers. And as they pump water out of the aquifers, of course, they are pumping it out much faster than these aquifers can replenish, because the population of Iran has been growing very fast in the last half century. And at the same time, this is a desert, right? So it doesn't rain very much. And so there are aquifers in Iran, but they're not the kinds of aquifers that fill very quickly. So what's happening is that water is being pumped out way faster than these aquifers can possibly replenish. And the consequence is that these huge caverns that used to be full of water, they are emptied out. And when they're emptied out, the pressure inside them obviously drops. And then the next thing that happens is that the caverns collapse. Once those caverns collapse, the aquifer is lost forever. This is a permanent loss to the ecosystem, which then becomes drier, even drier than it was before. Okay, what you're looking at, and once this begins to happen, of course, the ground sinks. So the underground caverns collapse, the ground sinks, and you get these giant sinkholes like the one we're looking at right now. This is a sinkhole in Tehran. These things are swallowing cars, buildings. I mean, this is, we're talking about the collapse of a country, but it's not merely figurative. It's a literal collapse. The thing is sinking into the ground, okay? So the question here is, how did this happen? And why did this get so bad? And the short answer is that, we can get very complicated, but I'm going to give you just the basic model of what happened here. Is that the people running Tehran are jihadi terrorists. Jihadi terrorists who created this modern Islamic jihadi Iran as an instrument. So it's an instrument for what to them is a mystical goal, which is the genocidal destruction of the Jewish state. Okay, so the Iran of the Ayatollahs exists in order to destroy another people, another country. That's their reason for being. It's just like, it's almost like it's pure evil. What is the point of your country? Oh, the point of my country is to exterminate another people. It's just, it's out of science fiction, but that's what it is. So because this is the ideology of the people who pretend to govern Iran, right? Because they don't really govern it. This ideology makes them paranoid about the entire world, because the jihadi ayatollahs, what they see is heretics and infidels. Okay, obviously non-Muslims to them are infidels, and infidels in jihadi ideology must be either killed or enslaved if they refuse to convert to Islam. All right, this is what jihad is, right? So you see people that you must either subjugate or kill, and then because they are Shiites, to them the Sunni Muslims are heretics. Okay, now Sunni Muslims are the overwhelming majority of Muslims. So if you are a Shiite Ayatollah in Iran, almost the entire world is automatically your enemy, because within the Muslim community, almost everybody is a heretic from your point of view, and you have to destroy them too. And then everybody else is a non-Muslim, so they're infidels. So if you're an Ayatollah pretending to govern Iran, you're like I got to turn this into a fortress because the entire world is my enemy. So how does that translate into state policy? Well, it translates into the effort, a kind of autarky. Autarky is when a state is self-sufficient, right? So they aspire, these ayatollahs, to this crazy thing, because it's really it's impossible, but they aspire to food self-sufficiency, so that Iran will not have to import food from all of these other countries that Iran distrusts, because they're governed by heretics and infidels, right? So you want to be self-sufficient in food and in critical industry, right? Strategic industry. So because you have to build all these bombs and these planes and these tanks, because you're going to go destroy Israel, right? And conquer the Sunni Muslims, right? So you need to have these strategic industries totally self-sufficient inside Iran, so that these enemies that exist everywhere cannot sabotage it. And how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to build dams, right? So they started building dams everywhere. Iran became, I think, the third or fourth most dam building country, you know, and they're very proud of this, because to them this means development. Building dams means development to them. It's this very primitive understanding of what development and wealth mean. So they start building dams everywhere in a desert country, right?
Yes.
So the few sources of water that they have, they start locking them up, and then they divert this water from the regions that are slightly less dry to the very desertic regions. And they choose the stupidest crops imaginable, like rice, watermelons, and this kind of thing that requires just astronomical amounts of water, right? So they start running out of water, and that's when people have to start pumping groundwater, and they run out of groundwater, and everything starts collapsing. And now they've reached the point where they've mismanaged the water so badly that the city of Tehran the capital city has no more water. The reservoirs are now so low that they've reached what they call the strategic level, which may not be pumped out, because if you pump it out, the whole system breaks. When you're down to the strategic reserve, the water is so full of silt that if you try to pump it out, you ruin the pumps. And they're almost there. They're practically there, which means they're going to have to stop pumping water to the city of Tehran. And the president of Tehran, a month ago, said that if it didn't start raining in November, which is already gone, and it didn't, then they would have to start rationing water. And a bit after that, if it still didn't rain, they would have to evacuate Tehran. He said this out loud in public to the media. He said, we will soon have to evacuate Tehran. Tehran is a city, the greater Tehran is a city of 15 million people. So this is what we're facing. We're facing one of the greatest humanitarian catastrophes in all of history, and I cannot see that there's any way of still stopping this from happening.
Okay, but how could this happen, Francisco? Like, who are the leaders of the government? How could the government make so many, what was the word that you used? So many disinfrastructure for taking the water out of a country that is a desert like Iran? Like, why it was bad management? Why was it like? I don't understand that part.
Okay, so one reason is they're jihadi terrorists who want to destroy Israel. That's an important reason, because that means that, as I was saying, they distrust everybody, so they try to become autarkic, right? Which is a crazy thing to attempt, and that leads them to build a lot of dams. So that's one issue. Another issue is that because they're jihadi terrorists, they can't allow any freedom. Okay, these people can't allow any freedom. They're totalitarians. So if you don't allow freedom, the kind of administration and government you're going to end up with is a very intrusive, overbearing, micromanaging, central planning government. That's what you're going to get. This is what totalitarianism always produces, right? Because you can't allow freedom, you can't allow markets, you can't allow really free markets. So they're intervening in everything. They dip their fingers into the Ayatollahs are making all kinds of decisions about everything. So this is terrible because central planning is always worse than markets, free markets. Now, free markets produce management problems when it comes to natural resources and pollution. Certainly, I'm not saying that capitalist free markets are perfect. Far from it. Far from it. But the problems, but whereas free market capitalism creates environmental problems, central planning creates apocalyptic wastelands. Okay, it's so much worse. The example I use in the article is you got to compare Lake Ontario with the Aral Sea. So Lake Ontario is one of the Great Lakes of North America on the border Canada and the United States. I think it's I think the smallest maybe of the Great Lakes, but it's still huge. And because of the way water flows in there, I think it's the one that gets the most pollution. So it's been very polluted, all kinds of stuff, sewage, agricultural runoff, industrial waste, all kinds of things coming in, gigantic environmental problems. But it's been improving in the last few years. There's people are doing stuff to make it better, and it's been improving a little bit, and it's still there. So it's got problems, but it's still there. Whereas the Aral Sea, just like Urmia in Iran, the Aral Sea no longer exists. The Aral Sea was not as big as Lake Ontario in water volume, because Lake Ontario is very deep, but it was huge in surface area, the Aral Sea, and it did have a lot of water. It was a freshwater lake, gigantic. Just gigantic. And the Soviets diverted the Amu Darya and Sir Darya rivers, which were the two big rivers that fed the Aral Sea. They diverted that to go plant cotton in Central Asia. So they irrigated these giant cotton fields. Those crops afterward failed, of course, because they ran out of water. The Aral Sea was dried up. It ceased to exist. All of the fishing communities that depended on the Aral Sea died. The boats rusting in the desert that was created there, and then all of the chemicals once all of that dries up, the lake bed becomes dust, and that gets into the air. You get these windstorms, and that's full of chemicals that make people sick, give people cancer, and so forth. So it's an apocalypse now. So Lake Ontario is bad, but the Aral Sea is so much worse, and that is the consequence of central planning. So that's another reason that this happened. A third reason that this happened is corruption. So, and again, you can again find the root cause of this in jihadi terrorism, because the organization created to destroy Israel is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Okay, that's the genocidal military organization whose long-term mission it is to exterminate the Israeli Jews. Okay, so the Revolutionary Guard is an infinitely corrupt organization. They make money hand over fist, with all of these dam projects, because they're heavily involved in what they call the water mafia in Iran that is building all of these dams. So every time a dam is built, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard makes money because they're building the dams, and also they are diverting the water to their business projects. They have all kinds of, enterprises and business projects that make money for them, that they use to build the infrastructure to destroy Israel, right? But along the way, they control so much money that the people running it, who are very corrupt, are stealing a lot of the money. So if you are making a lot of money from corruptly stealing from the organization that is building the dams, then you want to build as many dams as possible, no
Yes.
matter what the consequences, because every time a dam is built, you get richer. And the absolute symbol of this total corruption is the Gotwand Dam. Okay, so it's the worst example. So the Gotwand Dam was built in Khuzestan, which is the province of Iran. I think it's the one that has the most water. But anyway, it's relatively green, or used to be anyway, um, before they ruined it. So now listen to this. This is so amazing. Before they built the Gotwand Dam, they already knew that what was going to be the lake bed, the basin that they were going to fill with water, they already knew that that was salty soil. They knew this. They had the studies. It was a known thing. So they knew that when they flooded that, the water was going to become salt water, and it was going to become useless for agriculture and almost anything. And they still built the dam. They still built it. This is the level of corruption, because they ruined agriculture in Khuzestan, which was one of the most important agricultural provinces for Iran. This is the breadbasket of Iran. They ruined agriculture in Khuzestan. Another blow to Khuzestan's ecology was that there were lots of wetlands in Khuzestan, and they turned the wetlands over to oil production. So they ruined the wetlands. It's just, we have never, ever seen, even the communist states never achieved this level of complete and total mismanagement. So the Ayatollahs running Iran do not care at all about the Iranian population. It's amazing. Look, they didn't even invest in fixing the leaky pipes. They lose about 30% of the municipal water is lost to leaky pipes. 30%. And I think something like 40% of the water that they use in irrigation is lost due to inefficiency, to methods of irrigation that are terribly inefficient, entirely unlike the ones that Israel uses, for example. So they lose 40% of the water that they use in agriculture. And this is a country that spends 90% of its available water on agriculture. So if they had invested just a little money in improving irrigation efficiency and fixing the leaky pipes, they would not have arrived at day zero in Tehran. Day zero is the day when all of the taps go dry. There is no more water for the city, and people have to rush out somewhere else to find water to drink. That's day zero. And that's the day that the president of Iran has already said is fast approaching in a matter of weeks. That's what he said. Okay. Well, they wouldn't be here if they had at least invested a little bit of money fixing the leaky pipes and the irrigation, or choosing crops that are not so idiotically suited for a desert environment, right? So they don't care about Iranians, even to do this little bit, because they are so consumed with their life mission, which is building a ring of fire around Israel so they can exterminate the Israeli Jews. It's quite remarkable. It's remarkable. And what we're about to see is a flood of human beings, desperate human beings that need water to drink, running to where? Well, I think to Iraq. I think they're going to run to Iraq. I think that the Iranian government, in order to survive, because of course, if millions of people start rushing in different directions to find water to drink, that's a combustible situation.
Now, yes,
Am I
continue.
back? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
that's a combustible situation. It can easily become an uprising that destabilizes the regime. And of course, the regime will try to protect itself from that. And I think their best bet is to move all of these desperate water refugees into southern Iraq, because Iran has control of Iraq. This is one of the consequences of the U.S. invasion of Iraq, is that they basically they handed Iraq over to Iran. Okay. Because why? Because Iran is more than 60% Shia Muslim, and the previous dictatorship was Saddam Hussein, who, that was the Sunni minority in Iraq governing everybody. So of course, Saddam Hussein was an oppressive dictator, and he was fighting Shia rebels in the south and Kurdish rebels in the north. So there was a lot of hatred against the regime from the minorities, especially from the Shia Muslims, who were the majority, but they were out of power. And they were being supported from Iran even then, right? So Iran was supporting Shia militias in Iraq even before Saddam Hussein was taken out. So when the U.S. comes in, invades Iraq, they take out Saddam Hussein, they install a new government. There's elections. So the new government, of course, is the Shia government, because the Shia Muslims are the majority, and they wanted to get even. So they elect the Shia government. That government, of course, is controlled from Iran. And through the Shia militias that Iran controls inside Iraq. So for a long time now, Iraq has basically functioned as the westernmost province of the Ayatollahs, okay? Which means that the Ayatollahs, I mean, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard could reasonably attempt, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but they could reasonably attempt to move a lot of people from Iran into the Euphrates and Tigris zone. I mean, those rivers, I mean, they're big, they're important, but they're very stressed. But they could help you manage the immediate emergency. And that way, what they would be doing is they'd be using Iraq as a buffer, send the people to Iraq, lower the pressure on Iran, and that may allow the regime to survive in the short term.
Francisco, we can share the screen. You can share the screen and explain
Oh,
it.
yeah, share the map. You're right.
Yeah,
Let me
more visually.
share the map
Yeah.
about these movements. You're right. You're absolutely right. So let me do that. Thank you for reminding me that I have an image about this. So here's the image. Here's the map. So I'm thinking first that the way to get them into, so this is Iran, and over here to the west is Iraq. So I'm thinking probably the most sensible idea for the Revolutionary Guard is to get people from Iran into Iraq through Khuzestan or through Kermanshah, because they already have very good control of the border there with their own militias and the Revolutionary Guard and so forth. So that would be the way to get them in. And you can see here in this map the distribution of precipitation. So you can see here that the northwestern area is the one that has a little bit more water, and that's where people are going to want to rush. But the regime doesn't really want them to stay there, I don't think, because these areas of Iran, they have more water, but they also have the minorities. This is where the Iranian minorities live, and they are quite resentful that their water has been diverted to for the majority, for the Persian majority. That's how they see it. And the water refugees are going to be from the Persian majority rushing into these minority areas to take even more of their water. So this could create a civil war. So I think they're gonna want to push them right away into Iraq, and they'll put them in this. I lost the map here. In this area down here of the Tigris and Euphrates. But that's going to destabilize Iraq, because Iraq is also very water stressed. So they're going to almost immediately have to move these people somewhere else. Now, where are they going to go? Well, Saudi Arabia to the south and Kuwait to the south are very rich countries that potentially could spend a lot of money in a hurry to try to solve this humanitarian emergency. But these are jihadi Muslim countries, and jihadi terrorists in power, just as we have seen in Iran, don't really care about the populations. They care about their mystical goals, their mystical terrorist goals. And so I don't think they're going to be too keen to help these people. I think what the Saudis and the Kuwaitis are going to do is they're going to militarize their borders. And if too many people arrive, you may see massacres there at the border to keep them out. So I think it's more probable that these people are going to try to get into Jordan, although I think Jordan will do the same thing. They'll be terrified, and they'll militarize the border and even shoot people to keep them out. So what's going to happen to them? Well, I don't think they can go into Turkey and through Turkey into Europe via the northern border of Iraq with Turkey. I don't think they can do that because I don't think the Turks would allow it, because that area of Turkey is full of Kurds, and the Kurds are, independence minded. They want to separate from Turkey, and there's been a lot of upheaval in that area. And if you get millions of Iranians moving through there, that could destabilize the whole region, which is already delicate for the Turkish government. So I think what they're going to want to do is they're going to move them to Syria, to the border with Syria, because Syria is quite permeable right now. And you have to remember, Syria is now governed by ISIS, by al-Jolani, who's basically ISIS. And al-Jolani, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani is his nom de guerre. His real name is Ahmed al-Shara. But this al-Jolani guy, this terrorist, this ISIS terrorist, is a client of Turkey. And Turkey is also governed by a jihadi ideologue, which is this Erdogan. So Erdogan and al-Jolani, who now controls Syria, could move all of these people through Syria and through Turkey into Europe, as they did for millions of people during the height of the Syrian civil war. Okay, a lot of Muslims came through Syria and Turkey into Europe, millions, during the height of the Syrian civil war. And that whole pipeline is still in place. I mean, the drug smuggling networks, the people smuggling networks are still in place. They know how to do this. They just did it a few years ago. So, I mean, they're doing it continuously, but they did it in a big way a few years ago. And Erdogan even threatened the European Union with increasing the flow of Muslims into Europe if he didn't get what he wanted, because he was sort of blackmailing European countries to give him money and to give him a bunch of things in exchange for flooding Europe with Muslims a little bit more slowly. That was basically the negotiation. So now this sort of thing could easily happen again. So you get all of these water refugees flowing from Iran into Iraq, but they can't stay very long in Iraq, because that would make Iraq implode as well. So they'll quickly move them from Iraq elsewhere, where I think into Europe. I think that's what's going to happen, via Syria through Turkey into Europe. Because remember, Erdogan is a jihadi, and he is now on the warpath. Erdogan has, in the last year, he has said out loud that he wants to destroy Israel, that he should be ruling over Jerusalem because he inherits that from the caliphate and all this stuff. He has prayed out loud for the destruction of Israel. We know that he is an Islamist, and therefore it makes sense from the point of view of his ideology to produce the next great Muslim wave, to send the next great Muslim wave crashing into European society. It makes perfect sense for him to do that and finish the destruction of Europe. So I think there's a real danger of this scenario playing out as I'm laying it out. And another big problem in this scenario is the other arrow I'm showing in this map, which is that if indeed these water refugees flow through Syria and Turkey into Europe, Well, many of them are not going to leave Syria. Okay, so one thing that is happening right now is that a lot of Houthis are flooding into Syria. Okay, a lot of Houthis are flooding into Syria right now. This is what's being reported. Uh, so the next big attack on Israel is being prepared from Syria. And as these millions of Iranian water refugees move through this area, some of them are going to be retained in Syria and pressed into service to join the Houthis and Al-Jolani and everybody else who's in the jihadi terrorists in Syria.
Francisco, who are the Houthis?
Excuse me?
Who are the Houthis?
Oh, the Houthis are the terrorists. This is another proxy of Iran. They are Yemeni terrorists. So Yemen is to the south of Saudi Arabia. And that's also an area that is loosely controlled by Iran. The Houthis are an ethnic group within Yemen that Iran has been arming to the teeth and turning into a terrorist force that is also committed to the genocidal destruction of the state of Israel. So it's part of the Iranian encirclement of Israel. And many of these Houthis, which have been very difficult to defeat with the kinds of attacks that Israel has been mounting, which have proven to be relatively ineffective Air Force attacks, many of these Houthis are now streaming into Syria. This is what's being reported. So obviously, the next great big attack against Israel is being prepared from Syria, the fear I'm expressing is that as many of these Iranians move through Syria and Turkey into Europe, they're gonna force many of them to join the ranks of the Houthi terrorists in Syria and other terrorists in Syria for the next great big anti-Israeli attack.
Okay, so what you're saying, Francisco, is that this big tragedy is a perfect opportunity for the government of Europe and also from the West in the USA to go and flood Europe and also the West with all these Muslims that came from nowhere, and they want to like destroy the entire values of the West and etc.
Thank you for reminding me of this point, Yoel. You're absolutely right. We can expect full cooperation from our Western leaders with this entire scenario. Why? Because our Western leaders have been cooperating with jihadism in the encirclement of Israel. Trump's policies have been to protect Hezbollah, to protect Al-Jolani, to protect the Iranian Ayatollahs, to protect Qatar, to protect Hamas, to arm Saudi Arabia to the teeth even more, give them the weapons they've always wanted, which are going to destroy the asymmetry in Israel's favor, allow the Egyptians to do military exercises in the Sinai to prepare for an invasion of Israel, which is in violation of the so-called peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, and so on and so forth. Okay, so they're arming the Lebanese army, which is really Hezbollah. In fin, it's very clear that the policy of our Western leaders is to encircle Israel and destroy it. So they're going to be collaborating, I predict, if the scenario I'm claiming unfolds the way I said, then I'm pretty sure they're going to be collaborating with the whole process while claiming to oppose it, of course. But they'll make sure that this all happens, and that the Houthis are strengthened by the Iranians, and then they will also collaborate with the movement of many Iranians into Europe, because this has been their policy for many years. Okay, so this is nothing new. The governments of Europe have been deliberately importing just giant hordes of Muslim immigrants. The most dramatic case, of course, was during the Syrian civil war, during the height of the Syrian civil war, when Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, said, we'll take them all in, is what she said. There'll be no ceiling. We're not capping it. Just come on over. just a tremendous mass of humanity, of Muslim humanity, entered Europe, right? So this has been their policy for many, many years. They're turning Europe into a Muslim country, continent. This is what they want. In Britain, which is the most obvious of these countries, or maybe Belgium and Britain compete for that title. But in Britain, if you, and we've written about this in Management of Reality, if you criticize Muslims or Islam or the immigration of Muslims into Britain, this kind of stuff, in a tweet or X post, whatever you're supposed to call them, or a Facebook post, or anything like that, Instagram and so forth, they'll arrest you. They'll arrest you. The British authorities will arrest you for criticizing Islam or Muslims, because that all gets categorized as hate speech. Meanwhile, you have, well, and the Palestinian flag is sacred, whereas the British flag and the English flag and so forth, they're treated as somehow racist symbols by the British government. So meanwhile, you have these Pakistani rape gangs, these Muslim Pakistani rape gangs that have been, they call them grooming gangs, that have been raping thousands of British girls, white British girls, adolescent girls. And they've been doing it with impunity because the British authorities knew they were operating. They did nothing about it, right? So they're protecting the Muslim criminals. They've got Sharia courts now in Britain. Sharia courts. Then you have Tommy Robinson, who's trying to fight this, right? Who's trying to defend traditional British society from the abuses of British immigrants who have a jihadi ideology that commits them to the destruction of Great Britain, right? So there's Tommy Robinson fighting this, and he is constantly being persecuted by the British government. I mean, the picture is very clear. Sharia courts. They have Sharia courts now. It's unbelievable. So I think there's every reason to expect that at least the most obvious governments, the governments of Belgium, Britain, France, Spain, will be maneuvering to make it easier for this Muslim human flood to happen. I don't think the collapse of Iran was really planned for this, but I think now that it's happening, they're gonna improvise in this manner and take advantage of the opportunity to produce another great flood of Muslims into Europe and finish off Europe. This is going to be the death blow to Europe if it happens. So I think they'll try to do that. And I hope at least one of these videos becomes viral and Europeans become aware of this, because they can react now to this possibility and force their governments or change their governments so that they can enact the policies that will protect them from what will be a civilizational collapse. I mean, Europe was already rushing towards civilizational collapse without this. So I think it is imperative for Europeans really to wake up and defend Europe before it's too late.
Yes. And I have a question, Francisco, that the audience may have, which is, we have in the thumbnail, in the title, that Israel is going to save Iran.
All right.
We put this. What is the role that you're seeing Israel taking place here?
All right. So here's a great opportunity for Israel, because can you imagine? Just imagine this movie. So the Iranian government says, okay, we're out of water. Millions of people start scrambling. Masses of people start moving in search of drinking water, desperate people. And Israel is ready with mobile desalination plants to try and help these people get some drinking water and not die. Okay, so Israel can do this better than anybody because they have the best desalination technology in the world. they're a relatively well administered state. I mean, the state of Israel can do complicated things in a big hurry. So
Yeah.
they could go on a kind of war economy to build these things, to desalinate water for desperate Iranians. They could do it in a matter of, I think, I asked ChatGPT about this. ChatGPT seems to think they could have important desalination structures ready within 2 months. So and they could offer these to the Iranians. So just imagine the movie, the Iranian government collapsing, unable to give drinking water to their people, and Israel is there with an offer of help. Look, we want to help the dying Iranians while the Iranian government wants to exterminate the Israeli Jews. Wouldn't that be a dramatic propaganda blow in favor of Israel that would put the lie to everything that everybody says about Israel? Wouldn't it be difficult, even for the anti-Semitic media, to paint the Israelis as the bad guys? Wouldn't it make our job easier? We could tell a lot of people, see what we've been telling you? Look at how bad the jihadis are. Look at how nice the Israelis are. We could say, look, because we're in the middle of a propaganda battle. So this would be a tremendous propaganda blow. So that's from the Israeli point of view. Now look at it from the Iranian point of view. The Iranian people might be saved by this. Okay, if Israel mobilizes to save them, that's going to shame the Gulf countries. The Gulf countries also have desalination, top top desalination technology, first rate, and they have a lot of money. So they would be shamed into helping the Iranians, even if it were only to make sure that no Iranians are saved by Israelis. Even if it were only to do that, they might be forced then to save the Iranians, and then the Iranians get saved. So this is a win-win proposition for both Israel and the Iranian people. If Israel were to mount this campaign. But in order to do that, they would have to be getting ready right now, because the Iranian catastrophe is already at our doorstep. It's not coming, it's here. So the Israeli government would have to be preparing to do this already. Now, of course, they're not going to do this, because Israel is not governed by patriots who are on the lookout for opportunities to improve the situation of Israel. I mean, it's exactly the opposite. So of course they're not going to do this. But it's important to analyze these situations with a view to what an Israeli patriot would do, because if we're always thinking this way, then we know how to recognize them if any Israeli patriots show up, right? So it's still important to do these exercises, and it really is a golden opportunity for Israel, if they were to mount a campaign to save ordinary Iranians. And let us say, the grammatical precedent already exists. So in the political grammar of the conflict that we've been in, this precedent already exists, because Netanyahu, I think it was like 4 months ago, maybe more, he made a video addressed to the Iranian nation, where he promised the Iranians that if they were to depose their government, if they were to get rid of the Ayatollahs, Israel would commit to solving the water problems of Iran. Israel, he said, we will send experts and capital to teach you guys how to do drip irrigation, and how to fix your leaky pipes, and how to do desalination, and so on and so forth, and how to manage the water resources of Iran so that it doesn't go bankrupt in its hydrology and so forth. Netanyahu made this address to the Iranian people. So he said, if you get rid of your government, we will save you. This is what he said. We will help you drink and farm and so forth. So this has already been done.
I have the video here, Francisco. If
you have it, let's see
yeah.
it.
Yeah, let's share it. Let me see. Let me know if you can listen.
Yeah.
I need to stop this. Okay, here.
and they lost miserably. They lie through their teeth, but on rare occasions, they tell the truth. A few days ago, the Iranian president said,
Can you make it
we
closer?
have problems with water, electricity, money, and inflation. Where don't we have a problem? There won't be any water in the dams by September or October. He's right. Everything is collapsing. In this brutal summer heat, you don't even have clean, cold water to give your children. Such hypocrisy, such disdain for the Iranian people. To live like this is not fair to you. It's not fair to your children. But I have very good news. Israel is the #1 recycler of water in the world. We recycle 90% of our wastewater, and we lead the world in desalination. We know exactly what to do, so Iran can also have plentiful water. Almost a decade ago, I opened a Telegram channel in Farsi to teach water management to Iranians. 100,000 Iranians joined almost instantly. The thirst for water in Iran is only matched by the thirst for freedom. So here's the great news. The moment your country is free, Israel's top water experts will flood into every Iranian city, bringing cutting-edge technology and know-how. We will help Iran recycle water, we'll help Iran desalinate water. And what would that look like? Just imagine water skiing again in the Karaj Dam with your families. Imagine walking hand in hand with your partner next to the bountiful river.
Okay, I think we can stop it there.
But this was the basic idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the basic idea, right? So I'm saying, Netanyahu should be as good as his word. If he really wants to save the Iranians, do it, buddy. Do it. But you need to be building the mobile desalination plants now, so that when people start running for water, you're ready for them. Otherwise, they will die. I mean, if you people can't wait 2 months for you to solve their water emergency. The minute they run out of water, the water has to be there from somewhere.
Yeah.
So because we can't, we can only go a few days without drinking. So if Netanyahu is going to be as good as his word on this, which of course he won't be, but if he were, he would be building these. He would be working on this strategy from. He would have been working on that strategy already when he made that video.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And this is what both Israel and the Iranian people need. That's a strategy that can help us avert a humanitarian catastrophe of the Iranian people, and also strike a tremendous blow in the propaganda war in favor of Israel.
Yeah, but I think that they will always have a way to make Israel the bad guy. And I imagine like this.
They will always try. They will always try. But that's why.
Listen to this idea, Francisco, because I think that people who are against Israel, and maybe the ones who are in the middle, who are the ones you can change their minds, they can also be intrigued by this idea of propaganda, which is, hey, Israel is going to save the Iranians, but they are in a precarious and very poor situation. So they will take advantage of them. So they're going to help with, they will give you the hand so they can, there's an advantage for Israel somehow, there's always a way to put Israel as the bad guy.
Well, they're definitely going to try. I mean, we know they're going to try. This is what they do, right? So they're going to do that. But we need to make their job as difficult as possible. That's what we need to do.
Yes.
The fact that we have enemies who are going to try to besmirch our name and try to do character assassination and so forth. Well, we know they're going to do it, but that doesn't mean we don't fight. And for Israel to do this kind of thing that I'm proposing would be to fight for Israel. It would make the anti-Israeli propaganda a lot harder than it is today, right? a lot harder because it would get covered. It would get covered. And then a lot of people would wake up when they saw the propaganda machine trying to make Israel look bad, even though they're doing this. I mean, it starts to look very twisted. Some people start going, "Oh, wow, the anti-Israeli bias really must be strong if nobody can applaud even this, right?" No, so then it really starts to become too much, at least for some people, and that allows us to gain ground. You see, so this is the kind of thing that an Israeli ruling elite that is really trying to defend Israel would be thinking about all the time, because the war is the most important front in this war is propaganda. It's the perception. It's the management of reality. Okay. Why are they telling everybody that Israel is supposedly committing genocide in Gaza? Why are they doing that? Because if you can convince people that Israelis are committing genocide, then they're the worst people. Then they have no defense, right? So, and that's how you destroy Israel. You destroy Israel by convincing everybody that it doesn't have a right to exist. And if it doesn't have a right to exist because the Israelis are supposedly these genocidal maniacs, well, then nobody will defend Israel from the jihadis who are actually exterminating them, which is already what we're seeing, right? We're seeing lots and lots of Westerners who take the side of the Hamas terrorists who launched a genocidal attack against the Israeli Jews. Mind you, the framework that all of these Westerners that support Hamas have in their heads is a framework where Hamas is supposedly reacting to Israeli oppression. And the part of the story, because I'm saying this because I just saw the interview or the conversation between Dave Smith and the trigonometry guys with what's his name? What's the trigonometry guy? He's so good. The Russian guy. Anyway, the trigonometry people will know who I'm talking about. So they had Dave Smith over for a conversation, and Dave Smith is as anti-Israeli as anybody can be. And the narrative that he's selling is that October 7th is bad, but the reason it happened is that these people are reacting to oppression, okay, to alleged Israeli oppression. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And the thing that nobody who supports Dave Smith's narrative ever explains is that the people that the Hamas terrorists were murdering on October 7th are the farmers of the kibbutzim around Gaza that were the absolute most far leftists, most completely convinced of the importance of a peace process with the Arabs in Gaza, of being friends with the Arabs in Gaza. They had peace programs to meet Arab families from Gaza. They were employing Arabs from Gaza in their farms because they wanted to get to know them and to foster a good vibe for peace between two peoples. Those are the Jews that were tortured to death on October 7th. Okay?
Yes.
Dave Smith, who claims that these people were reacting against oppression, never shares this particular detail. Never shares this particular detail. The Arab employees of these Jewish farmers on the border with Gaza, who were being courted by these Jews for friendship, who were getting jobs so that these Jews could try to be their friends. That was their whole ideology. Okay? Those Arab employees gave crucial intelligence to the orcs that came to murder innocent Jews on October 7th. There's no way you can frame this as resistance. Okay? There's just no way. These Jewish farmers, their entire ideology was, we want to be friends with the Arabs. And they were not quiet about it. They were reaching out to the Arabs constantly with overtures of love. These are the people that were, I mean, of course, we can criticize them for their naivete, but we can't accuse them of oppressing any Arabs. They were doing just the opposite. So, why did I get on this rant? Bring me back to the original topic. Why was I saying this? Oh, I was saying this because these are the kinds of facts that if you had a properly structured propaganda campaign in favor of Israel, you would be doing this. You would be explaining the very thing I just explained, loud and clear for people to understand. But people are not answering Dave Smith this way. They're not answering him this way. And the trigonometry guys, as good as they are, they didn't bring up this point. I don't think. I can't recall them doing this in the interview. They kept conceding. Their strategy was to concede all of Dave Smith's assumptions for the sake of argument, but they conceded Dave Smith's assumptions that supposedly the Israelis had been oppressing the Arabs and that the Arabs were responding to oppression. They conceded that just for the sake of argument. And after conceding that, they were trying to show Dave that even then, there is no excuse for what happened on October 7th. But I think a much better strategy is to say, to tell Dave that, no, we're not going to concede your assumptions. There's no way your assumptions make any sense that these people were fighting oppression. Because first of all, Gaza was evacuated by the Israeli state in 2005. They got out. They got out of Gaza. And they gave it to PLO Fatah. And PLO Fatah gave it to Hamas. And the whole idea was, okay, Arab Palestinians, here's your autonomous government. Govern yourselves. We'll see how that goes to see if we can build peace, right? This is how this was sold to the Israelis. So you can't say that they were, occupying their territory. They had gotten out of their territory. They evacuated all of the Jews, right? And then the Jews that lived around were trying very hard to be the friends of the Arabs, even though the entirety of Gaza had been taken over by genocidal terrorists. They were still trying to be friends of the Arabs. So there's zero structure here for Dave Smith to say that October 7th was a response to oppression, which is what these defenders of Hamas and of the supposedly pro-Palestinian Westerners are always saying. And the thing they never complain about, which is quite diagnostic of what's going on, the thing they never complain about is something that we have complained about here in this space and in other spaces where I speak, which is that Hamas oppresses the Arab Palestinians. I mean, if you care about the Arab Palestinians, you have to be very offended by Hamas, because not by Israel, by Hamas, because Hamas is a terrorist organization that turns Arab Palestinians into cannon fodder and into human shields, right? So obviously this is what needs to be pointed out by a true patriotic effort that is defending Israel. These are the facts. And again, if we had real patriots, they would be preparing the rescue of Iran, because it's the smartest thing you can do in order to destroy the entire anti-Israeli narrative. And it's also the most ethical thing that we can do for these Iranian water refugees, the vast majority of whom I believe are not even anti-Israeli. I mean, they hate the Ayatollahs. They hate the oppression they suffer under the Ayatollahs, who don't even give them water to drink. They don't like them. They have no special hatred of Israel. It's been a long time since they've hated the regime way more than they hate Israel, if they ever really did hate Israel. So I really hope something can be done for them, because I think this is a population that the world needs. These are not the worst Muslims by a long shot. I think these are probably some of the nicest Muslims, and yes. We need them to fix the world. We need nice Muslims like the Kurds in the north of Syria, and also we know that the expatriate Iranians, right? The Iranians, many Iranians that left when the jihadi revolution happened in Iran in 1979, Those expatriate Iranians, they're totally anti-Ayatollah, of course, and they're quite pro-Israel. They're pro-Israel Iranian Muslims that left Iran when the jihadi revolution happened. We need them too. We need to forge an alliance with reasonable Muslims to save them and save the West, right? So I really hope something can be done for them. And I think this strategy would be the smartest thing to do. But no, I don't expect the Israeli so-called leaders, the Israeli bosses, who have been betraying the Israeli Jews forever. I don't expect them to do any of this.
It would be amazing for you, Francisco, to go and talk with Dave Smith, right?
Oh, Dave Smith. I would destroy him in 5 minutes. He doesn't know anything. He has no history of the Middle East in his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Or he is a liar. These are the two possibilities, right? Or he does understand what he's talking about, but he lies about pretty much every single detail. So I would love to talk to Dave Smith. I would have so much fun with him. Let's talk about the history of the Palestinian movement. Let's talk about Haj Amin al-Husseini. Let's talk about who fired the first shot, right? Because the Palestinian movement exterminated the European Jews first. That's the first thing that happened. And before that, the Arab Palestinian movement was organizing enormous mass killings of Jews in British Mandate Palestine. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the oppression of Jews before the mandate in Muslim lands, in the city of Jerusalem, when that was being run by the Turks. How did they treat the Jews then? Let's talk about that. Does he know anything about that? I don't think so. I don't think he even knows what dhimmi means, you know? Oh, that would be fun. I would wipe the floor with him.
Nice.
If somebody proposes it, let me make the offer right now. Dave Smith, if you're listening, which I doubt, I don't think he's listening, but if you're listening, let's have a public conversation. Love it. With a moderator, because I know you like to interrupt. And I can interrupt too. I have that failing as well. So we'll get a moderator who will shut us up, and we'll talk about the historical facts. That would be a lot of fun. Dave Smith, here's my invitation. An invitation and a challenge. Whenever you want to do it, I'm game.
Perfect. So we can close it, I think, here, Francisco. Thank you so much for everyone that's hearing us.
Remember to give us a like and a subscribe and to share very widely, because we need to grow our YouTube channel in English. We have a big Spanish channel, but this information is valuable, obviously, to an English-speaking public as well. We have some very exciting documentaries. We have all kinds of interviews, all kinds of content already on the English language channel. It's full of videos. So go check it out and invite your friends, share the videos, like and subscribe. And if you have a little extra money, you can always give us a super sticker or become a member or one of these things. Thank you very much for listening. Oh, and by the way, we will always be on from now on Tuesdays at noon, Mexico City time. From now on, this will not vary.
Thursdays, right?
I said Thursdays. No?
I listened to Tuesdays. So
forgive me. Correction. I meant to say Thursday at noon, Mexico City time. That's going to be the permanent schedule for the English language live podcast. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.